Welcome to Down the Road. There was a shooting in Fargo recently, actually back in June, and a guy went into Mr. Money, and he took a gun in there, and he held the boys at point blank and robbed them. That's exactly what happened, and he had committed a number of robberies, and then he gets out to his car, but what happened was an employee of Mr. Money came out, and he shot 7 times at the car. What does that mean? Does the shooter from Mr. Money get charged? Well, he did. We'll talk about that a little bit later with Mark Friese, an attorney with the Vogel Law Firm. Also, Daryl Ritchison. Now, Daryl is a good friend of this show. Want to talk to him about the smoke, the haze, what's happening with the drought. He's always good enough to do some explaining when it comes to that. But, could bacon disappear? Man, do I hope not. I'm not going to lie to you about that. Tamra Heins is the executive director of the North Dakota Pork Council, and she's good enough to join us right now. Tamra, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, I'm just going to get this out of the way right away. I get up really early. So what do? I make an egg sandwich with ham and cheese. Now, I'm just saying, I'm on the team. I have to have ham when it comes to a good egg sandwich. So there. I must be at least someone that you can look at and say there's a customer.
Right.
Want to talk a little bit about California's new animal welfare law. Producers and consumers trying to take a look at this thing and scratching their head a little bit. Can you describe it to people? What's going on here?
Well, Proposition 12 in California has been since 2018. Actually, it passed on the ballot there, and what it was basically something that was pushed through by the Humane Society of the United States, HSUS. Actually, we've been in litigation over it for quite some time, and just recently the Ninth Circuit denied our request to have that change. So now they took comments for quite a while, and now California will have to decide what they want to go into effect on January 1st. And basically what they're saying is they want to tell farmers how much space these pigs have. They've got it down to they have to have a minimum of 24 square feet of space for a sow and her piglets, and that you can't sell meat, fresh meat in California unless you meet those requirements. And right now, about 10% of the U.S. pork pig farmers are set up to accommodate that market. And so that's the big concern. And then it's had a lot of effect on people who are entertaining building a barn or any kind of barn, because California wants to dictate how pig farmers farm, and they're not sure how that's going to end up. So there's been a lot of kind of a stale in the expansion phase of the pig industry because of that.
Why is that the magic number? How do they...
I can't answer that for you. I don't really know, and it's oddly, it's mostly virtue signaling that comes from, the uber wealthy in California that want to dictate food policy. And the problem is that it affects the middle class and the lower middle class and the working poor that are maybe food insecure. And we make more rules that make it harder to get food on their tables. But so a lot of it, the HSUS is, their main goal is to kind of eliminate meat animal production in the United States. And this is just one step to make it do that.
I don't get it. I mean, what makes them determine that this is the size of the pen that the sow needs to have and her piglets? I mean, here's what I'm struggling with the most, I guess, out of this. At the very least, whether or not they believe in pork production, whether or not they believe in any form of meat, don't they realize, just from an honesty standpoint, that it's for that pork producer, for that person out there raising pork, it's in their best interest for the pork to do well until it goes to butcher? I mean, has that been any argument that's been made against these individuals?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's been a lot of arguments made, but I don't know that they've made much difference. But I think the biggest thing is that every pig farmer should have the right to choose what system works best for them. There's a lot of people and a lot of farms where they are, outdoor housing is the best for them. Pen farrowing is the best for them. But there's a lot of places where it's not, like places like North Dakota, where we have to deal with it seems like all the extremes with 40 below and 100 inches of snow, and also with 100-degree heat and no end in sight. And I think that it makes it hard for every pig farmer making their own decision for their own resources and their own systems. And the problem with this is they make these rules, and the only people who can afford to make the changes are the big corporate farms, and it just puts more smaller guys out of business because they're not able to make that investment to make the changes that they need to make to be compliant with California.
So I don't understand the process. They put this out there, people vote for it. They all of a sudden have the magic number when it comes to pens. Obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, egg-laying chickens, veal calves, they're all part of what
Yes.
they're trying to get in the mind of what they need. We can joke about that all we want. I mean, the truth of the matter is these hogs are going to butcher, right? I mean, these hogs are going to end up in my freezer and end up be something I put back in my egg sandwich. I mean, when you said it's their goal to never have meat production, I mean, that has to be the goal, because if they're worried about the pen size from a pork producer, when the pork producer, it's in their best interest for the pork to do excellent, quite frankly, before it gets butchered. Really what the goal is exactly what you said, which is to get rid of meat production, which is a way bigger and a way broader fight. Has that been part of the discussion? Because even some of these, animal rights activists, it'd be fun to go back in and see what they eat or what they've eaten. I mean, does the average person kind of get the fact that when they go to the store, ham's a good thing and they don't want to mess with this?
Right. And actually, back in 2018, PETA wouldn't join with HSUS to get this passed because they didn't think it went far enough, because they wanted to eliminate the selling of pork in California, not just say how we raise it. But so, yeah, I think that, we want to do our best job as raising pigs as humanely as we can. And we do that pretty successfully in the United States. There's a lot of laws. There's a lot of regulations. Farmers want to do the best job. Farmers want to raise pigs. Pig farmers want to raise pigs. That's the bottom line. And they'll do it however the customer and the consumer are willing to pay for it, because they want to raise pigs. So I think that is the bigger picture is what's the end goal for all of these things is like they just want to eliminate, protein or meat animal protein. And I think there's a big push that comes for that. So, but I think the general, it's the noisy minority, I call them, because it's not the majority of people. The majority of people want to go to Walmart and they want to buy pork chops and they want to buy ham and they want to buy bacon, and they want to know that it's raised right. But they also have a lot more faith in the American pig farmer than I think some of these elitists do that are involved in HSUS and some of these other fringe programs.
Well, I can tell you this, Tamra, I've been buying a lot of ribs. I think I've got my,
right?
my pork rib.
I've gone up a little this summer too, but yes.
And that's okay. You know what? If that hog producer that I've known for years, my buddy down the road, is making a buck, I'm okay with that. You know what? Because he's my friend, and he hasn't made a lot of money at times. And quite frankly, I'm about to go into deer season when I buy a half a hog, and some of that's used for my deer sausage. So I'm on the team here. My point is this. What happens if the hog producers out there, the pig producers, say, all right, forget it. California isn't a market we can take place in. I realize I'm being facetious here, but how do you think that would affect Californians? And just think of the fight that would start.
Well, I think we're seeing now on social media a lot of the Californians that voted, because, it was passed, like about 63% voted in favor of this. I just think they weren't aware, they were sold, we would need to raise pigs better, but they don't really know how we're raising them now. So it was kind of sold as an emotional thing without a lot of facts behind it. And now they're like, wait a minute, now we can't buy bacon. Now bacon's going to cost 60% more. Now we're not going to be able to put pork on our tables. And we're talking about a state that has, a pretty high percentage of Latinos, and Latinos love pork, and they're a big, big player in the domestic pork market in the United States. And now we're asking them to have to look at alternatives because they might not be able to afford to buy pork.
Well, we can talk about it all day, but it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It shouldn't be a fight.
Yeah, but Joel, that nobody's asking us to rule on it. We're not the judge.
I know. I want to be the judge. I definitely want. I have to ask you this. Overall, how is it going in the pork industry? In the beef industry, there's a big fight going on when it comes to meat packers. Is that extending into the pork industry?
We don't see that as much, the infighting in the pork industry, and some of that is because we're already a little bit more corporate in structure than maybe what the beef industry is. There's not as many independent players, and we have a lot of integrators that are invested in packing houses and harvest facilities, in the region. So it's a little bit different dynamic, and We've been selling on product for a long time, not selling by the head like we see in the beef business. So it's a little different dynamic and than what we see in the beef industry. But it is, it's awfully hard for the independent guy to stay in business, and hopefully with some better prices that we're seeing now that we're able to do that. And also with the opening up some export markets, we've been able to see some increases in prices in the bottom lines for these farmers.
On my radio show, this comes at me constantly. Okay, for me, I have Great Bend Lockers. I have Fairmont Lockers. Fairmont Lockers is usually where I go, and they do a great job. But not everybody has that. I mean, one of the biggest concerns out there for many people living across North Dakota is they can't find a butcher anymore. Are you hearing some of that, Tamra?
Well, I am hearing that, but I've also seen a lot of increases in some facilities in the area, especially out west. We've had some new ones pop up here and there, so hopefully we'll see that. As long as it becomes more profitable, and of course we always have the labor issue when it comes to that, then I think we're going to see more of them pop up than we've had in the past. So hopefully that's the case.
Well, keep fighting the good fight for my buddy Kendall that raises pork, and his son Jeremy that raises hogs, and are good people and do it in a good way. So keep fighting the good fight, and shut all pork chops off to California for 1 month, just 1 month, and see what they say. Okay.
Well, how about the ribs? Everyone likes to barbecue in California.
Yeah, exactly. Tamra, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks, Joel. Anytime.
Yeah, when we come back, Daryl Richison's going to join us. Let's talk about the drought. Let's talk about the haze, the smoke, everything that goes with it. So stick around. More coming your way as we continue our trek down the road.
Howdy folks, it's a Canine Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin' breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous Canine burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon rattling pie with a combo roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
August 7th helped to set the world record for number of paddle craft on the Cheyenne River. Launch from Valley City or Fort Ransom State Park at 10 a.m. Central Time. See all the details and register at HelloValley.com.
Hi, Hunter Ellis here for Night Hero Binoculars by Atomic Beam. These binoculars let you see anything, even in pitch black darkness. Gotcha.
The secrets are powerful wide-angle atomic beam laser that reveals objects up to 150 yards away, hidden by darkness.
During the day, Night Hero gives you 10 times magnification. And when the sun goes down, press the Night Bright button to see clearly in the dark. Light up garbage-eating critters or spot thieves before they even get close. Call or click now and get Night Hero binoculars for just $39.99. Order right now and you can double it. Plus, get our best-selling atomic beam flashlight, just pay a separate fee. We'll even ship them to you free. This TV special offer is not available on Amazon. You can get it all, but you have to order now.
Call 1-800-619-1091. That's 1-800-619-1091. Or visit bynighthero.com. That's bynighthero.com. Order now.
Attention, have you or a loved one suffered from maculopathy, a serious retinal injury, after taking the prescription drug Elmiron for interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome? In 2018, a researcher at the Emory School of Medicine linked Elmiron,
a prescription drug that treats interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome, to maculopathy, which is sight-threatening and can cause an abrupt change of vision. Call Elmiron Justice for a free legal consultation.
Please call 800-395-5680.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
You know, most of the places that you've been, I don't know what corner of North Dakota doesn't have it bad. We've got it really bad here in the east. The smoke, the haze, everything that goes with it from the wildfires. You go outside, there are some people that really react to it in a worse way than I do. But I notice it, and my eyes get watering. Well, Daryl Ritchison is one of the people that we count on this show a lot. He's the director, by the way, of the North Dakota Agricultural Weather Network, which means he knows what the heck he's doing. Daryl, good to have you back coming down the road with us.
Oh, thanks for having me on again.
I want to talk a little bit about that smoke, that haze. Describe to people what is going on so that they understand it from a scientific background.
Well, there's a lot of fires in Manitoba as well as northwestern Ontario, and that's been ongoing really since May. In the last 2 weeks in particular, there's been additional fires in Saskatchewan to our north. Those are the worst days. I put the graphic that's behind me on today because if you look in the Pacific Northwest, you'll notice it looks really hazy. That's a huge fire in Northern California. That's also ongoing. The Canadian fires, Joel, are the ones that give you the smell in the air a lot of times and some of those more surface problems. But I want to point out the Pacific Northwest and Northern California fires as well, because that's ongoing, and that tends not to be surface-based, but will keep the sky hazy and vibrant sunsets, even on the days when the Canadian fires don't necessarily impact us.
So, I can realize how weather brings it here. I understand the weather pattern and how it needs to get here somehow. How can weather change it? Other than raining on the fire, I get that, the obvious answer, but how can weather change it so that it's not so smoky out there?
Well, most of this summer, of course, it's been phenomenally dry in North Dakota because we've had this northwest flow. There's this really bubble of heat over the northern Rockies, and North Dakota's been on the eastern edge. So what we've been seeing is a lot of what you could describe as Alberta clippers in many ways, sliding just to our north this summer. Well, they've been triggering off sometimes a lot of dry thunderstorms, triggering off a lot of the fires in Canada. But when those storms pass, we tend to get, not necessarily at the surface, but right above our heads, this flow from the northeast, Joel. And that's, say, what's happening again today for us. But if the change of a pattern comes in and then, say, goes more west to east, we're still going to be hazy because of what's happening in the Pacific Northwest. So it's really going to be difficult to find a flow pattern in the atmosphere that does not impact North Dakota, or at least parts of the state, which means, this may be ongoing for another month or perhaps even longer. I'm sure we'll catch some breaks, but I think it's going to be a off and on problem at best case scenario for, at least another month.
So we're talking about the fact that we've got a situation where weather is affecting the smoke. It's getting here, but can the smoke affect the weather? Can that determine the very things you're talking about?
It can to a small degree, because the main influence with the smoke, of course, is limits incoming solar radiation or sunshine. And there are days, there's this concept in meteorology called a convective temperature. If we can get up to 86 on this particular day, we'll start seeing cumulus clouds and in turn maybe thunderstorms. But if the smoke kept us at 84, it may not thunder because of that. I mean, it's kind of a minor influence. Most of our systems come in frontal, but it can impact a little bit the weather just because it's limiting the air temperature potential. Does look like, well, at least parts of North Dakota will see some rain this weekend. that will be a frontal passage. So I don't think in that sense it will impact the weather, but just those diurnal thunderstorms that pop up during the afternoon and evening, more air mass thunderstorms we call them, yes, it can impact us that. But I don't really have seen a scenario yet this summer where that's been a big influence to me.
Daryl, I travel all over the state. Just like you, I talk to people all over the state. And yes, they know what's going on. They know it's a terrible crop season. They know how dry it is. They can see what's happening in the sloughs. Both you and I can recognize that. The big concern that they have when they talk to me is that we're on the front end of what is going to be, a long drought season. Everybody goes back to 1993 when we kind of went into that wet cycle. Is this the beginning of what we all should have feared, which is a long drought cycle?
Joel, back in 2006, people thought that the wet cycle was over. In 2012, another incredibly dry summer, people thought the wet cycle was over. In 2017, people thought the wet cycle was over. All of these situations, I've always said, based on proxy data and just analysis of the past, I didn't think we would break it until the 2020s. Well, the question, of course, is what you just asked. It's 2021. Is this the beginning? And a lot of people remember me saying this for the last 15 years. It very well might, Joel, but the reality is I don't think we'll know until we go 2 or 3 years into this. We've never really had, some parts of North Dakota's had 2 dry years in a row. Very few have had 3 in a row. I think a lot of it might come down to what's going to happen to us in the next 18 months.
Okay, that being the case, and I understand it. I mean, if you had the complete power to absolutely know that, you'd be a pretty powerful man. I totally get that. But what are we looking at now? I mean, do you see anything in your crystal ball in the next, in August, in September here?
Well, if you go back to those years I just mentioned, Joel, every single one of them, even the famed 1988, saw a change in the weather pattern as we got into the second half of August. There are certain things happening globally, and by globally, I usually mean the entire Northern Hemisphere, because the Northern and Southern Hemisphere kind of work independently of each other, that I think we may at least get into a pattern of more near average rainfall towards the end of the month. Might be too late to save some crops, might help a couple of those areas. But the thing is, Joel, we get so much evaporation this time of year, because this is our dry summer period, that I don't know if it necessarily will help, because it's not only this season that everyone I talk to is concerned about. It's always, well, Daryl, we're still living on 2019's moisture, or the moisture last year. What are we going to do in 2022? And that is a very big question, because fall and winter is replenishing time. Will we get the moisture? And right now, what's happening globally outside, maybe getting a little bit of a change and a little bit more normal precipitation, I don't really foresee the big change that we can replenish our soil moisture supply for the 2022 growing season. So in turn, it may come down to what happens next April and May if we can get a couple good storms in here to help us next year.
So I had someone talk to me, one of my coworkers, about, basically frost conditions and what we could be looking at with the ground this dry. And, if I'm a highwayman right now, I'm really nervous. It seems like they're bit either way. If it's too wet, the roads go soft. If it's too dry, they can crack. I mean, where do you see things heading into this winter? How big of an effect does that frost have upon the soil?
It would go much deeper this year for the reasons that you mentioned, number one. And then in agricultural circles, as long as we stay dry, you have that prospect for an early first frost like we did last year. And really, I shouldn't call it an early first frost. It was an early freeze last year on September 7th, 8th, and 9th of last year. So what little crop some areas have, that would be just absolutely devastating, and what is for many folks, of course, a devastating year already. But it really would only take one rain. If we just get even a half an inch to a 3/4 of an inch widespread, it would soak up at least the top couple of inches and help with that situation. But, I think that was one of the reasons we had the late freeze very late in May. Fargo, for instance, was the 6th latest on record back in late May. Same reasons. Dry conditions also attributed to colder temperatures, as well as what you were describing with road conditions for this upcoming fall. We just need a couple good rains or even some marginal rains, but at the moment, it doesn't look all that promising.
Should we just get used to this? I mean, and when I say that, it's like, we're so used to it. This month it does this. At that month it does this. You know, I'm going to wake up in middle of August. I'm going to smell outside, and it's going to feel like football weather. And you know, grab me a sweatshirt, and then I'm going to end up in shorts type of a thing. Should we just get used to the fact that we don't know that, you know, in a lot of these winters from now on, we're not going to get the snow amounts we used to? I mean, is this something that's going to become the norm?
I have always said eventually we're going to have a 10, 15-year stretch where 80% of those years are closer to the 20th century mean. And, you know, we're both old enough, Joel, I hate to admit that, but we remember with kids, you know, these snowy winters were not very common. I've always said North Dakota is not a good place to own a snowmobile, for instance. So eventually we're going to get stretches where it's going to be more dry than wet, whereas in the last 25 years, it's been more wet than dry. So in some ways, yes, but not every year is going to be this bad, for instance. It's just probably we're not going to see that moisture supply that we used to see.
Daryl, keep doing what you're doing. So many people, you had a reputation long before you made this career move as somebody you could trust, and now helping out with ag and everything else. Just we're not young men anymore, I get it, but keep doing what you're doing, and make sure you have approval from people like me before you retire, okay?
I will keep that in mind, but fortunately I love what I do, so that's always a good thing. So, but I appreciate the kind words.
Good. When we come back, Mark Friese is going to join us. Mark works with the Vogel Law Firm. He's a partner. We're going to talk about the shooting at Mr. Money here in Fargo right after this.
Hey everybody, I'm Doug Billings, your host of The Right Side with Doug Billings on Beck News. We bring you high-profile guests, ladies and gentlemen, exclusive guests. Now, you're not going to see these guests in most of the mainstream media outlets. Another thing that I do here is give guests a platform to speak freely. You're not going to see me censor anybody. Please join us, won't you? Weeknights right here on Beck TV and online at beck.news. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream sheets. When you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Introducing the Cool Turtle, the ultra-comfortable mask enhancer that creates a protective, cool, and breathable space between your mask and your face. Simply slide under any mask or gaiter and immediately feel the refreshing pocket of air surrounding your face. Cool Turtle's ergonomically designed, soft, comfortable shell immediately reduces mask friction, allowing you to breathe and talk in a comfortable environment.
I can actually breathe. With the Cool Turtle, no more sweating.
It's like I don't even have a mask on.
Call now and get not one, not two, but 3 Cool Turtles for just $10. Order now and we'll send you 2 more Cool Turtles free. No fees, absolutely free. Plus, you can get a 10-pack of 4-ply face masks. Just pay a separate fee. This offer is not available on Amazon. Get the real Cool Turtle now.
Call 1-800-270-1219. That's 1-800-270-1219. Or visit getcoolturtle.com. Order now.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
Maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money. So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
1-800-699-0761. 1-800-699-0761.
I'm Rick Becker from No Apologies. Welcome to your after hours oasis of sanity. Watch us weeknights at 9 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
Could you do us a favor? Beck TV is a finalist for Best Local TV Station in the Bismarck Tribune's Best of the Best. Vote now through August 9th by text or online. Vote for your leader in local, Beck TV.
There was a young man named Hunter Havistow. Now, Hunter's a thief. He is someone that has been going in and causing all types of problems in the Fargo-Moorhead area. And at one point, well, he hasn't been convicted yet, and the man I'm about to talk to would definitely point that out to me. But the truth of the matter is he went into Mr. Money, and he held them at gunpoint, and he wanted their money. And he did that. And then when he left, he got into the car to get away, and an individual from Mr. Money, his name is Kyle Rasmussen, not Rasmussen, Ramsey, that's his name. Sorry about that, folks. Comes out of Mr. Money with a 9mm, and he shoots at him, or at the car, and he puts 7 holes in him. So the car. Is Ramsey guilty of anything? Should he have been charged with anything? That's the question I have for Mark Friese. Mark Friese is with the Vogel Law Firm, former law enforcement officer, defense attorney, understands what it's like to be in a courtroom. He's been in a lot of courtrooms, and he's willing to share some time with us right now. Mark, good to have you coming down the road with us.
I appreciate the invitation.
Okay, I've got to ask. You're the prosecuting attorney. You're the Cass County State's attorney. Do you charge him?
Yes. The conduct fits the offense elements, and it's worthy of a charge. I suspect that there was a great deal of deliberation that went into should we charge him in light of the circumstances, and ultimately I think that the decision is the right one.
Okay, I had the opportunity to speak to all of these parties except the one that did the stealing. Okay, and their claim is we were the victims. We were the victims here. They were trying to, or he was trying to get us outside. And because of the fact that he left isn't the point here. The point is he ripped us off. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, they were victims, and they were victims of a very serious felony. Robbery is a serious felony and has been a felony since the inception of our criminal law. So there's no doubt that they were victims. But if I were to steal gas from your car, you can't shoot me. If I were to punch you in the nose as I left the bar, you can't shoot me. You can only use what force is reasonable and necessary under the circumstances. So I don't dispute that they were victimized, and I don't dispute that they've been subjected to a great deal of trauma in the immediate moments before this decision was made. But that doesn't give them a blanket license to use deadly force.
This young man went into their place of business and changed their lives forever. They're never going to forget that. They're never going to forget what it was like to be held at gunpoint. When I spoke to them on my radio show, they talked about how they're not sleeping, about how this is affecting them personally. I mean, he took that from them. As you pointed out, they're victims. How are you going to find 12 people that find a mutual verdict that the guy that does the shooting at the individual that took all that from them is in any way, shape, or form guilty? You going to find 12 people to convict him?
Well, I don't think that the charge here is based on the fact that they were shooting a firearm at a fleeing felon. I think it's that the fact that there were a number of rounds discharged in a business district within the city of Fargo when use of force was not necessary to take the person into custody or to protect the business or to protect the individuals. Juries are given detailed instructions when they deliberate in a case, and the instructions here would be to set aside passion, to set aside prejudice, to set aside biases, and look at the facts and the elements of the offense to determine whether the defendant committed an offense. I think there's a really big difference, Joel, between trying to conceptualize, does this conduct constitute an offense, and what should the penalty be? Because those are two very different questions.
Every employee at Mr. Money has a concealed carry, which as a law enforcement officer, what goes into that. So they know how to shoot. They know what it's like to be around a handgun. These individuals, are basically encouraged to have that concealed carry by the owner. Now, the owner, again, one of the victims, I understand that. But he told the employee, and I talked to these folks on my radio show, he told the employee to go out and mark the car. Now, that could have meant get the license plate. That could have meant find out if it's Ford or a Chevy. That could have meant find out the color. But he told the employee to mark the car. If the employee made the case that, hey, that's what he meant, mark the car, if I shoot the car, people are going to know, does that make the court system, the legal system look at that employee differently?
I don't think so, except with respect to punishment. So if he is convicted of the charged crime, all of the facts and all of the background will go into the ultimate sentencing decision of the judge. But the law has long held that if you're given an illegal order or you misconstrue an order from an employer, that's not a defense to the charge. So if the employer says mark the car and the employee misinterprets that to shoot holes in the side of the car so the police can find it, when in fact they meant to take a license plate number down, that's not a defense to the charge itself.
Okay, I'm going to appoint you Cass County State's Attorney, something that you didn't run for and you didn't want. You're doing just fine in private practice. Is one of the, and I get to say this, and then you get to not comment about it afterwards. But quite frankly, you're one of the top defense attorneys out there, which is one of the reasons I like calling you. But you're Cass County State's Attorney right now. And, you know, do you cut a deal? Do you get them in a room and say, look, we made our point. The public saw this. We got the media we wanted to point out that you just don't do this. We don't want you to be guilty of a Class A misdemeanor. Let's cut a deal. Would you do that?
Oh, guaranteed. And I suspect that there will be a deal here. North Dakota law has some really unique sentencing mechanisms where we can recognize that people have made mistakes. It constitutes a technical violation of the law, but we don't need to ruin the person's life for making a good faith mistake that violated the law. So things like deferred impositions of sentence where you do a short probationary period and the charge is dismissed. We even have a unique sentencing mechanism called a deferred prosecution agreement. And regrettably, our Cass County State's Attorney's Office is the only one that I'm aware of in the state that will not use that rule. This would be a perfect case for them to do so. I hope that they get some pressure to revisit what they're doing. Other prosecutors across the state are doing it, and it's basically an agreement, a pretrial diversion agreement. The charged individual is given a probationary period, maybe some community service, maybe some additional training, maybe some fines or costs, and then the charge is dismissed without ever having to enter a plea of guilty. That would be the perfect resolution for a case like this. Additional training in proper use of firearms, when you can use deadly force or not, and some minor monetary penalty would be the right disposition.
Forget about this case because you're not their attorney. I get it. I understand it. But you're in a room like that, and you've got the feelings you've got of, hey, you know, you did something wrong here. They were right to charge you. And you're sitting in that conference room, and they come back with that deal, and he says, no way. I'm not admitting to anything. You go ahead and take this to trial. How hard is that? I mean, do you keep pushing and say, look, you know, we got the best deal that you're going to get here?
No, that's easy. The decision to go to trial or not is always the client's. It's not mine to make. I will, in every case, I'll weigh out for a client, here are the benefits, here are the detriments, here's the likely, here's the possible outcomes, and then ultimately you make the decision. It's expensive to go to trial. The outcomes are uncertain. And if you can get a deal where the charge is ultimately dismissed and the case file is sealed, that's almost as good as an acquittal at trial.
So when they say, okay, you admit to this charge, we're going to take it off your record in a year or 2 years, as long as you keep your nose clean. Is that really off your record? Because you've been charged, it's there. I mean, is it really off your record? Or if you go do a search on that individual later on, you're going to find out that he had been charged and convicted of this?
In the information age, there's no such thing as off your record. You can Google someone's name and find it. The question is, what impact will it have on you with respect to collateral consequences? Your admissibility to Canada, can you sit on a jury, can you hold public office, can you possess a firearm? All of those things are attached to whether there's a permanent criminal record. And this would remove the criminal record, at least the court record, when it's ultimately dismissed.
Okay, what does he get charged with? If he comes out of that store and he shoots at the car of the guy that just got done robbing him and he hits him, what is he charged with? If he hits the guy that just ripped off all his money, hits him in the back of the head as he speeds away, you're the Cass County State's Attorney again, job you don't want. What does he end up getting charged with?
Or if he hits a bystander, too. Likely aggravated assault, which would be a Class C felony, or if there's a death that resulted from it, if you'd hit a bystander, or if the defense here is I was trying to mark the car but accidentally hit the driver and the driver perished as a result of that, negligent homicide or manslaughter, a Class C felony or a Class B felony.
I can tell you this, from having the individuals on my radio show, didn't take long and people started wanting to donate $100 to their defense. I mean, opinions are pretty strong out there. And I got a lot of people that called in and texted in that said, no, he didn't have the right to do that. What if he would have hit somebody in Cashwise? What if he would have hit some innocent bystander? I mean, there seems to be no middle here, Mark. The passion's out there.
Well, and I like to think that I'm objective. I can really see both sides of the argument. I've been through hundreds of hours of training as it relates to the use of force. I represent police officers who are charged with offenses or have disciplinary matters. I can tell you this, there is no police officer who would have kept their job if they would have fired rounds under this same circumstance. The United States Supreme Court, all the way back in 1985, said the mere fact that a felony had been committed and the person is fleeing is not a reason to be able to shoot them. Historically, when our country was founded, police had the authority to shoot a fleeing felon. So if a felony had been committed, regardless of whether the person presented a danger or not, law enforcement was vested with the authority to shoot them, to take them into custody. In 1985, the United States Supreme Court said, we've developed too many felonies. If there's no risk to the public, if the fleeing felon is no longer a danger, there's no longer authority to shoot them. And again, this relates to law enforcement. So a police officer under these same circumstances would have been fired for shooting just because the person was fleeing as a felon.
So your advice to Craig Ritchie, the attorney representing the shooter, is cut a deal.
Oh, absolutely. Accept responsibility, recognize that there is a middle ground here. And that middle ground is there was a technical violation of the law. There can be positive that comes from this. Training classes, educational classes, and like I said, I mean, this would be a great opportunity for the Cass County State's Attorney's Office now to recognize and utilize deferred prosecution agreements.
Mark Friese, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I can tell you this, if you get in trouble, he's the guy to call. You're going to find he's probably got a full caseload, but I do appreciate him coming on and talking about it. When we come back, a word you never hear from me. Oh, wait, you do. Let's talk about vaccinations right after this.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
Maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money. So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
1-800-699-0761. 1-800-699-0761.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, flat screens and laptops, even pools and spas, and so much more.
Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
1-800-219-1467.
Go for Launch 2018 Series winner. Without further ado, it is my honors. Regina. The winning team is the Fleming River Excellent.
Oh my God!
They won!
Kirk Cousins. Do you know who that is? Does the name jump out at you? I've been a Minnesota Vikings fan since I've been old enough to be a football fan. And Kirk Cousins is the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. Big money quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. They went out and they got him. They got him from the Redskins. And after playing for a while, he isn't the most loved quarterback that the Minnesota Vikings have ever had. Now, the Viking fan that you're spending this trip down the road with, me, has been I've told everybody, he's not that bad. He's not. If you look at the sheer numbers and you look at the TDs versus interception ratio, if you look at the yards, he's not that bad. And the one thing I will tell you about Kirk Cousins is when he gets hit, he bounces up. And I've always liked that about him. Now, should he step up in the pocket more? Should he go to his second read more? Does he not win the big one all the time? Those are legitimate points of conversation. I get it. But the one thing that I don't think Kirk Cousins should have the ability to do is to look at his teammates and say, I still get to play football, but I'm not getting vaccinated. Because he's putting the team at risk. Now, you can say, well, everybody carries COVID. I'm not just talking about the carrying of COVID. That's not just what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a man in an NFL protocol that could stop the team from being able to play and having to forfeit a game. I'm serious. Because of him, they could have to forfeit a game. There was a press conference today, and Cousins talked to the media, and he said, this is a private decision. This is a decision, my health decisions are my own. I'm going to socially distance. I'm going to put plexiglass around myself when it comes to studying film. It's just what he said was absolutely ridiculous. And it was ridiculous in this sense. First off, you tell me it's a personal decision, then you tell me you want to use plexiglass. You told me whether or not you've been vaccinated. You haven't been vaccinated, right? Leaders like Kirk Cousins should be the ones that are coming out saying you need to be vaccinated. The public looks to them. It looks to them. People like Carson Wentz, he's our very own, right? Carson Wentz saying this is a private issue. When they say it's a private issue, folks, that means they don't believe in the vaccine. Now, there's some common threads here. Wait, just settle into your chair and sit there with your remote control and get mad at me and say you're going to threaten to switch channels, but I'm going to say it anyway. There's a common thread with many of the individuals that are athletes that will not get vaccinated, and that is their connection to their religion. Now, let me explain to you something about my religion. I'm a Christian. Some of you that are watching aren't Christians. That's your right. You can do as you so desire to do in this great country that we have, because we have freedom of religion. But I'm a Christian. And I believe in my faith that it was the big guy upstairs that maybe helped Salk develop a vaccine for polio, right? That maybe had the people and said, you know what? These are some of the best and brightest I have. Let them find, the cure to COVID. Let them do what they can. Let them get in a room and use all those brains that they have, all that education that they have, and make sure there's a vaccine so people quit dying from COVID. Because here's the stat to remember the most. And I'm going to keep saying this. This is a stat I think that needs to be said over and over and over again, because it's the one that should make you think. This new variant of COVID is deadly. In fact, Osterholm from the University of Minnesota said that the 100 million people in America that haven't been vaccinated yet are going to get it. Close to 100% of the individuals that haven't been vaccinated yet will get it. And what the Delta variant does to them, that's going to be determined. Some are going to come out of it okay. Some are going to die. Some are going to die, and some are dying right now. I know of a young man, healthy as a horse, healthy as you can get, wife, kids. He didn't get vaccinated because he didn't believe in it. He didn't bring religion into it when I talked to him, but he came down with COVID, spent days on a respirator while his family prayed for him to survive. He's still not 100%. I don't know that he's ever going to be 100%. But to use religion as the reason that someone is telling you not to get vaccinated. How in the world did we get there? I mean, how? How did we get to where this is so even political? We know things now. We know one thing in particular, that if you have been vaccinated, you are not going to end up in the hospital we're talking about 99% of the people in the hospital haven't been vaccinated. So I'd say 100%. I'd say you won't, but you know what? There's that 1%. But the truth of the matter is you're not going to end up in that hospital as long as you get vaccinated. So where do we go with this? I mean, where do we go if you're a Minnesota Viking fan and you've got a quarterback that's this foolish? I could have used another word there. I'll just use the word foolish. Where do we go with that? What do you do? If you're the Minnesota Vikings, do you have the right to say you're not going to play on this team anymore? Because we don't want to run the risk of what could happen if you test positive. If the league finds out you've been around somebody that tests positive, because that's already happened. I mean, he's missed a lot of training already this year because of exactly that. So if you're the Minnesota Vikings, do you say it's been a good run, Kirk? We know we got to pay you some money, but we're going to get rid of you. And we're going to find a quarterback that will take the shot and will play. Because I think the Vikings should have the right to do that. It's just all about the pocketbook, the checkbook. Does anybody know the phone number for Phillip Rivers? And will he take the vaccine? We'll be back with some closing comments right here as we end our trip down the road.
Do you worry about going to the dentist? After all, a visit to the dentist can easily cost $2,000 or more. Well, relax. The Carefree Dental Card is now available in your area. Call now and we'll send your actual card at no cost today. With the Carefree Dental Card, you go to the dentist whenever you need and you instantly pay a lot less. Activate your card and you can start using it immediately. From exams and cleanings to more expensive procedures like crowns, dentures, even braces, they're all included with the Carefree Dental Card. Say you go to the dentist today without any card and your bill is, well, ouch. Wait a minute, let's try that again. You go to the dentist today and show your Carefree Dental Card, you save $525. The Carefree Dental Card is just $15.95 a month, so call now and make going to the dentist carefree.
Call 1-800-416-5739 to receive your Carefree Dental Card information kit. 1-800-416-5739. Call now.
I can't say enough good things about these nano hearing aids.
Real people talking about nano hearing aids.
The hearing quality is great.
Until now, hearing aids used to be too expensive for the average person. Until nano. Call now and you'll get your nano hearing aids for only $297. You'll save $100. When you buy one hearing aid, Nano will give you a second hearing aid free. Call right now.
1-800-213-3815.
Spas, etc.
You've come to know and trust us for over 18 years with the largest selection and showroom in Western North Dakota for our beautiful Sundance spas. Plus, you can pick out your next home experience with our selection of pool tables, shuffleboards, and fun accessories.
Spas, etc. Your relaxation destination on Maiden Bismarck.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm coming to you with the most important commercial that I've ever done. All of you know what MyPillow and myself have gone through in the last 5 months in my efforts to bring the truth forward. Well, it's all come down to this. I'm having a cyber symposium on August 10th, 11th, and 12th. This historical event will be live streamed 72 hours straight on my new platform, frankspeech.com. You can help by getting everybody you know to go to frankspeech.com now. To help support this Cyber Symposium event, I am offering some of the best prices ever on MyPillow products, but they're only offered at frankspeech.com. Go to frankspeech.com now and use the promo code on your screen or call the 1-800 number below to receive these exclusive MyPillow offers. Thank you and God bless.
All right, let's do the old thing versus the young thing when it comes to our viewers. Are you ready? There are some of us old enough to understand the original design of the Garrison Diversion Project. That's right. The McCluskey Canal, everything about Lake Sakakawea, the damming of water, how we're going to use it for energy, everything that went into it. The farmers that lost land because they were supposed to do it all in the name of getting water to eastern North Dakota. In fact, if you look at some of the individuals that paid the biggest price, look at the tribes. Look at the tribes. Look at the 4 affiliated tribes and then ask yourself the price they paid. That's done. The debate over that is done because what happened is that was a federal project and the federal government never kept their word. The water control that they got on the Missouri River for downstream barge traffic, they never kept their word for the price that we paid for that, right? So other than a great place to go fishing in Lake Sakakawea, we really didn't get much out of it. Except, well, what we paid for it is way more than what we got out of it. So what happens? The Canadians sue us, Minnesota sues us, the federal government never keeps their promise. All of a sudden the water in the Missouri isn't good enough for the water in the east in terms of bringing water through the Cheyenne River and making its way towards Fargo, which then makes its way into the Red, which then goes to Grand Forks, and quite frankly, Winnipeg, who right now is begging for water. But that's neither here nor there. The point is the project had to change. It had to. It had to become a state project where we weren't kissing the butt of the federal government, where we weren't reliant on them for funding. Even though they owed us money, even though they owed us the project, what had to happen was the state had to take it over. And the state did take it over. This week, there was a great big groundbreaking on the pipe that's going to go in the ground and head to Fargo. So that's what we're going to do as a state. We're going to take water from Carrington, around that area. We're going to go ahead and grab it. We're going to send it down to Lake Ashtabula, put it into the system of the Cheyenne, and find its way to Fargo. And because it's a state project, we'll get it done. And we'll get it done right. Finally, we're seeing at least water come to the east, because the biggest threat to Fargo is not a flood. Although it's a threat, and they're building a diversion for it, the biggest threat to the most growing city we have is the fact that they could run out of water. That's the threat. Good riding with you, folks.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world.